Okay, like I said before, I would write a little video of this so you guys can go back and look at it before you take your quiz, either on Monday or you take your quiz on Tuesday, because that's what you're doing on classifying numbers, order of operations, and radicals, which is all of this into one category. So question 5, or number 5, the number 5, this is a natural number, and natural because it's natural numbers are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. And when you were a little kid and you got to 10, everybody clapped for you, and you were about 3, they would say, how old are you? And you'd say twee, and everybody would love you, and that's just it. So that's a natural number. Then a whole number are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the number 0. So 5 was included in that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. An integer are whole numbers and natural numbers, but they can also be positive. Those are all positive, and they can be negative. So that's an integer. And then a rational is just any number that can be represented as a fraction. So 5 divided by 1 is the same as 5, so that's a rational number. So again, 7 over 8. So 7 over 8, that's going to be, or negative 7.8, sorry. That has a decimal, so that's just rational. It is not irrational. It's just rational. So notice that natural, whole, and integers are no decimals. Rationals can be decimals. Decimals are fractions because negative 7.8 is the same thing as negative 78 over 100. And again, that's represented as a fraction. So 0 is not a natural number because natural numbers, you didn't start with 0, but it's a whole number. If it's a whole number, it's also an integer. If it's an integer, it's also a rational. Okay, and now you're going to have 8/9. So the fraction 8/9 doesn't reduce, so it's rational. The square root of 8. So I'm going to use my calculator. You guys have your phones. You could download Desmos onto your phones. And so I type in the square root of 8 on my calculator, and I'm going to see if that gives me a repeating pattern. Does this decimal have some sort of repeating pattern? Notice that there is no repeating pattern here and so that is going to be irrational because there is no repeating pattern. This was 0.28 whatever. 282842712 yada yada yada, and it would continue on forever. We just don't have time. The square root of 25, same thing. I'm going to type in the square root because I'm not expecting you to memorize this. I want you to know, I'm not expecting you to know the math as much. I'm expecting you to know how to type this in. So the square root of 25 is 5. And then this ends up being 5. So 5 is, oh, wait a second. This is just like question 6 is just like question 1. It's just a different way to represent the number 5. And then this one, 16 divided by 8 ends up being 2. So that's a natural number, a whole number, an integer, and a rational. If it's natural, it's whole. If it's whole, if it's an integer. If it's an integer, it is rational. Okay, next one. So this next step is you have to do PEMDAS rules. And PEMDAS rules with this is just going to be 3 minus 6. So with 3 minus 6, you got to do the work first. So I'm going to go 2. And then 3 minus 6 is negative 3. So that's this part right here is that part that I did. And then negative 2 times negative 3 ends up being negative 6. And negative 6 is an integer. If it's an integer, it's also rational. If it's an integer, it's rational. And then I'm gonna make this bigger so we can actually see it. So the next one, we're gonna go through and I'm gonna do my work. I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna do my PEMDAS rules, work from the parentheses first. So I have 5 minus 7, so I have 2. 5 minus 7 is negative 2 plus 4 over 3. So again, that's that part that I did, that parentheses. And then PEMDAS says that I'm going to do multiplication first. So 2 times 3, or 2 times 4, slow down. 2 times -2 is -4. Plus 4, and now we're going to divide by 3. -4 plus 4 ends up being 0. Divide by 3 ends up being 0. Oh, but a 0 is a whole number. It's not natural. It's an integer because integers can be positive or negative. So +2 or -2, -1, and 0, and then +1, +2, and so forth. And it's also rational because I just made 0 into a fraction, 0/3. So that would be rational. Okay, we're going to go here. And this one was hard to see, and I didn't mark you down, but that was like a times a multiply. So we're going to do parentheses first. So 5 plus 7 is 12 times 4 over 4 minus 8. So 12 times 4 is 48. 4 minus 8 is -4. And then 48 divided by -4, because we do math, is -12. And then when you get this, a negative number are integers, and it's also rational. So then that other, and these are like what you can use for your exit ticket for your quiz. This is all we're doing. So question 11, PEMDAS rule. This one's kind of tricky, so really pay attention because I did this one on purpose. So you've got 12 minus 7 minus 4. So this ends up that 7 minus 4 is +3. So this is +3. And then you have over 3. So 12 minus 3 is 9 divided by 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3. So a 3 is a natural number. If it's natural, then it's whole. If it's whole, then it's an integer. If it's an integer, then it's rational. So question, this one right here, question 12, PEMDAS again. So I'm going to do what's inside here in the parentheses. So 16 minus, and then my parenthesis part, over 13. So 12 plus 4 is 16. And then we just simplify. 16 minus 16, because those parentheses aren't really that important. They're going to be 0 over 13. 0 over 13 is 0. Oh, that's the same thing. It's a whole number. It's an integer, and it's rational. It's a whole number, it's an integer, and it's rational. Square root of 36. Type that in the calculator, and we get 6. So that's a natural number, it's a whole number, it's an integer, and it's rational. So when you have this, if it's a natural number, notice it's all of those underneath. When it's a whole number, it's all, and all goes through there. So you've got this little stopping point. Make that a little smaller so you can see. You've got those little stopping points at rational. So anything that you click up above, so if it's a whole, it's an integer and it's rational. If it was a natural number, then it's all of these. All right, so the next question, and I'm going to skip to question 14. I don't know why this went on 2 pages, but it did. So you have, this is your thing. It's 15 plus 2. And then it's 14 plus 2 divided by 7. So now we have this. We're going to do the PEMDAS. So I have 15 plus 2. 14 plus 2 is 16 over 7. So then I'm going to do PEMDAS says I'm going to multiply. 2 times 16 is 32 plus your 15 divided by 7. So 15 plus 32 ends up being 47. And then divide by 7 is, and just leave it like that. Some of you guys put it as improper fractions. Just leave it. I didn't mark you down, but just go ahead and leave it. So that's an improper fraction. Oh, if it's a fraction, then it's rational. So this next one, square root of 2. So square root of 2 plus 4. So I do what's inside there. This is acting like this. 2 plus 4 is 6. So I use my handy dandy calculator, and I'm going to type in the square root of 6. Let's see if it works. Oops, I'm typing in the square root of 6. Let's see if it works. Oh, I got decimals again. So this is approximately 2.449489743. So this is not a rational number because it's a whole bunch of approximations, and those are weird little decimals. So this is an irrational number. So we call this one an irrational number. So that one is irrational. All right. So this is just a little quick review, little notes on your test. On your quiz that's coming up and how to do your exit ticket. I hope that this was helpful. And this is what we went over in the Zoom on Thursday and Friday this